Let's be honest, we've all stuck a sticky note on the fridge with a huge goal. 30 minutes of English listening every day. Sounds great, but by day 3 that note is just a reminder of failure. The problem isn't you. It's the goal size. 30 minutes is too much to start. The real trick? 5 minutes. Think about your morning routine. That's the secret, not the marathon, just the first step. Maya and Leo immediately point out the flaw in the approach. The next sentence decides whether the moment gets worse or easier. When the room hears, look at that sticky note. 30 minutes every day? Classic trap. That is the moment the tone either tightens or softens. I am listening for whether the sentence repairs the relationship or keeps resisting the correction.
Time-lapse showing 3 days. The useful wording here is, I'll do 5 minutes of podcast listening before breakfast. Timer still in used. Phone headphones on counter. Sticky note still on fridge. Audience understands Alex's routine and the challenge ahead. That changes the pressure. Alex has completed 2 days, but feels exhausted and skips day 3. My first reply, life interrupts. A late meeting, and the habit is gone. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected. In plain English, the exchange is this. Maya and Leo comment on the pattern. The useful skill in this chapter is see the consequence of an unsustainable goal. The risky line is still, I'll practice listening for 30 minutes every day. The line worth saving for the next try is, I'll do 5 minutes of podcast listening before breakfast.
Wrong. The podcast feels like a chore now. The first guess was, I'll practice listening for 30 minutes every day. But that misses the real cause. It's too ambitious and not sustainable for a busy person. Leads to burnout and quitting. Timer set to 60 minutes? Alex realizes they have quit and feels like a failure. Alex's attempt to fix the failure. When the room hears, so Alex tries to double the next day. 60 minutes. That'll fix it, right? The useful skill in this chapter is see that overcompensation doesn't work. It works better because it's too ambitious and not sustainable for a busy person. Leads to burnout and quitting. One detail to notice while saying it is focus on the rhythm of short habit phrases like, I'll do 5 minutes, and the contrast stress on small but consistent.
So there's this morning at work. Colleague's making coffee, and she says, oh, I'll do 5 minutes of podcast listening before breakfast. Just like that. No heaviness. I can do nothing. But wait, that's the point. 5 minutes is nothing, but it's something every day. The old goal of 30 minutes? That was a mountain. This is a pebble you can pick up. So Alex decides, try 5 minutes. Because if you can't do 5, you can't do anything. And that decision? That's the turning point. Maya and Leo describe Alex's week of avoidance and the quiet decision to try differently. That changes the pressure. Alex acknowledges the plateau and decides to change their mindset. My first reply, and then a quiet decision. Something has to change. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected.
That's a big difference. I'll do is a statement of fact. It's not a wish. Plus, it's totally specific. 5 minutes, what kind of listening and when. No ambiguity. Compared to I'll practice listening for 30 minutes, that's vague. 30 minutes of what? Anytime? This week? No. The new phrase gives you a clear picture. That's why it sticks. So when you set your own microhabit, make it as concrete as this. At work, a colleague casually reveals the microhabit phrase. The next sentence needs to do one job clearly. Alex realizes that 30 minutes was too big. Even 1 minute is progress. That changes the pressure. Alex hears the exact simple phrase, I'll do 5 minutes of podcast listening before breakfast from a colleague.
Alex takes that simple phrase and upgrades it. Now it's, I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. It's small but consistent. See the difference? I'm committing sounds like you mean business. You're not just hoping, you're deciding. And that little ending. It's small but consistent. That's the magic. It shows you understand that size isn't everything, regularity is. When you tell a friend or a mentor, that phrase earns respect. It's not a maybe, it's a done deal. Alex's doubt turns to resolve as reframes the habit professionally. Alex politely asks the colleague to recommend a 5-minute listening exercise, using the polite phrase. My first reply, then a shift. I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected.
That evening, Alex sets the timer for 5 minutes. places it right by the phone and headphones. A small deliberate move. For the first time in a week, Alex listens. And the thought that goes through their mind. It's so small I can't fail. That's the magic of a microhabit. The barrier is so low there's no excuse. The timer rings. 5 minutes done. That's the first win. That feeling of I can't fail replaces the guilt of missing 30 minutes with the pride of completing 5. That's the psychological shift. And it works. That evening, Alex decides to act on the idea. A usable version is, I'll do 5 minutes of podcast listening before breakfast. When the room hears, look, Alex is actually going to set the timer.
Will he still do it? But the morning is not perfect. Timer starts counting down from 5 o'clock. Phone plays a podcast, coffee mug nearby. Maya and Leo verbalize the skeptical thought that still lingers in Alex's mind. That changes the pressure. Alex manages to set the timer but is distracted and almost misses the routine. My first reply, he grabs the timer anyway. Good move. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected. In plain English, the exchange is this. Alex reacts to the rushed morning. The useful skill in this chapter is prioritize the 5-minute listening even when rushed. The risky line is still, skipping because not enough timed. The line worth saving for the next try is, could you recommend a 5-minute listening exercise? I'm trying to build a daily habit.
Same. Now it's automatic. One detail is still missing. A friend suggests trying just 5 minutes. The first guess, assuming one day is enough to form a habit, describes the surface but not the cause. The new evidence changes the explanation. Alex repeats the habit for several days without resistance. It becomes part of the routine. Timer and phone on counter each morning. Alex now uses them without hesitation. Keep the idea but change the words for your real situation. Alex stops the listening as the timer rings, feeling accomplished. The next day comes easier. And the next. When the room hears, Alex doesn't even think about it. Just starts. The risky line is still, assuming one day is enough to form a habit.
Feeling ready to try 10 minutes? I would repair the conversation with, I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. It's small but consistent. It addresses the problem because after a week of 5-minute listening, Alex notices improvement and plans to continue. Timer still set to 5 o'clock, phone with headphones on counter, notebook open with words jotted. Alex decides to stick with 5 minutes for now, resisting the urge to increase too soon. Alex is tempted to double the time, but remembers the lesson. A usable version is, I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. My first reply, wait. The habit is working because it's small. Don't break it. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected.
And it confirms the hidden cause. A friend suggests trying just 5 minutes. The useful wording here is, I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. It's small but consistent. Timer set to 5 o'clock initially, but Alex lets it run to 7 o'clock before stopping. Alex voluntarily extends listening to 7 minutes one morning. Alex makes a small adjustment. When the room hears, 7 minutes today. Not forced, just curious. The scene itself is simple. 2 weeks and 5 minutes feels short. In plain English, the exchange is this. Maya and Leo notice Alex decides to go beyond the timer. The risky line is still, suddenly jumping to 15 minutes, risking burnout. The line worth saving for the next try is, I'm committing to 5 minutes of focused listening each morning. It's small but consistent.
So here's your challenge. Pick any English clip podcast, news, song, and listen. Do it again tomorrow. That's it. Start with 5, stay consistent, and let it grow when it's ready. The lesson? Consistency beats intensity every time. We'll see you next time. Viewer practices the phrase with confidence. Now it's your turn. Say it with Alex. My first reply, nice. Again, but this time feel the rhythm. I'll do 5 minutes. Before breakfast. Sounds shorter and colder than I expected. In plain English, the exchange is this. Maya and Leo guide the viewer through repetition. The risky line is still, rushing through the phrase, or mumbling. One detail to notice while saying it is consistency beats intensity.